Right.
But with the motivation, it's a lot of it's the fact that I have these kids. Like I'd say
Mhm.
90% of it. But the rest of my motivation is that I got my mom, I got my grandparents, my sister. I mean, I have all this family that I have a rare opportunity to be the first to make some real money, aside from my grandpa and my grandma, but that was over decades and decades. That if I can do this, I have the opportunity to change the trajectory of my family for generations and help other people do the same that I bring with me. And that's what really motivates me because I don't want my kids to have to go work 3 jobs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like them to pick a career path and chase it as long as they feel like it. And if they don't feel like doing it anymore, they can go do something else and be able to chase their passions.
Starting, sustaining, and having a successful small business is hard, but you already knew that. But wouldn't it be great to have a podcast that talks to and digs in to the people who've made it? Problem solved. This is Local Vibes, small business success stories. Talking to successful small businesses from around America. You'll hear awesome stories about how they got started and how they survived and thrived online and in their communities. We find out their special vibe. Welcome to Local Vibes. Brought to you by UltimateOnlineMarketing.com. Now, here are your hosts, Pat and Angie Cherubini.
All right, let's do this.
Well, welcome everyone. It's Pat and Angie Cherubini, and we are talking with Michael Hirst, who is the president of Hirst Solar Consulting, which is a Texas-based solar company. And I've had the pleasure of being basically a Facebook friend of Michael's now for maybe over a year, something like that.
Yeah.
We've connected, and I think we first connected, was it in a business group?
I believe so.
I think so. I'm not sure which one because I'm a member of a ton of them, but I think that's where it was. And he offers residential, commercial, and public solar solutions. And, people may ask a question of why did we have him on our podcast? And, he's a veteran, which thank you for your service, first
Thank you
off.
for your support.
He loves America and has a passion for making our environment healthier. And I think that's a vibe that everyone can appreciate. So,
Yep. So
welcome.
we'll let you, tell your origin story and like what were you doing before you started this business? What got you into it, and just do your little spiel about what you do.
Okay. I'll try to be fast with that. So I was in the Army. I was a human intelligence collector, interrogations. Did that 5 years, Iraq, Afghanistan. Got out. Couldn't really find work. We've been living in East Texas. Finding work around here outside the oil field is difficult. So I went back overseas for a defense contract for a few months. Missed my family. Decided, hey, I need to find something close to home, and kind of bit the bullet. Got in the oil field. Worked on an oil rig for 2 years, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Had knee surgery because I blew my knee out on the oil rig and I had to rehab. Got laid off, and then I went back overseas for almost 3 years, and then got tired of that. The money was good, but it wasn't. I have a big family,
Yeah.
so I came back from that. Couldn't find any work before I ran out of savings, so I went to Alabama and worked environmental construction, which is just fancy for digging holes and swinging a sledgehammer, helping do environmental cleanup. And then came home from that, worked on finding a job again, got into climbing wind turbines in Colorado.
I read
Did
that.
that. That was fun. I loved that. And
Does
then
not sound fun at all.
You are crazy. How high did you have to go?
they're like 300 meters, I think is what they are. 300 feet, 300 meters. I can't remember exactly.
Up there.
But they're super cool. And that's the main reason I did that. They were going to pay me good, but also because I wanted to climb either a cell phone tower or a wind turbine at least once in my life.
Oh,
but that was hard too, because it was, even though I wasn't overseas, I was still away from my family, and I was gonna miss birthdays and stuff like that. So I ended up quitting that job because I wasn't gonna get any home time. And then I came back to Texas. So this is fall of 2019, and did birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and I was like, all right, cool. Can't find anything to do here. I'm gonna go back overseas. I have a contract lined up. I got hired and was just waiting for a date to ship over, and then COVID happened, and it just shut everything down.
Oh.
COVID is
So
the reason for a lot of things.
I didn't know what to do. Hold on, let me rescue this. Oh, never mind. I was gonna rescue this cat. Just knocked down a big old puzzle.
We just had our cat tear this thing down, but this tree behind us when we were doing a
Yeah.
video just a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So no problem.
She's attacking her tail. So everybody told me not to get her catnip, and I did anyways. And here we are. But with the solar thing, I figured since I was good at talking to people from all my time working in human intelligence collection and counterintelligence, that I should try to at least work in sales. Um, I learned pretty quick when I first got into sales that my morality conflicts with a lot of sales training. Um, but I got into solar because I was looking at all these different sales jobs, and I had no money at this time. Like I had just enough money for like gas for necessities. And other than that, I was flat broke. So I couldn't afford to get my licensing for insurance sales. I couldn't afford to drive to town and back every day to try to sell cars. And so I was looking online. I was like, oh, I got to figure something out. And I stumbled upon solar cells. I didn't even know it existed. I mean, probably in the back of my head, I realized it, but it wasn't something I thought about, um, especially in East Texas. So I basically was staying up until like 4 or 5 in the morning, most nights just reading and studying. And then, Facebook works with every fifth post being an ad. I was looking through Facebook ads, and I made a list of companies that I would be okay with working for. And the first company was TriSmart Solar, and I filled out their ad. They sent a guy to my house for I think it was SunPro, sent a guy to my house for a solar consultation, and I talked him into getting me a job. And he helped me get a job with TriSmart Solar in May of 2020, and here I am now.
Is that who you're still with, or are you completely on your own?
No. No. Funny story. I've worked with over 30 solar companies, onboarded and everything, with over 30 solar companies since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how does that work? The companies are you like a franchise, or are you just?
I'm a 1099. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a 1099 independent consultant. Anytime I've signed up with any of these companies, I keep a close eye on what my non-disclosure agreement entails, so that way I know whether I even want to sign the contract in the first place. But I'm 31, about to be 32. If I was in my early 20s, I'd probably stick with one of these companies, hit the doors all the time, work 6 days a week like these guys do, and just grind at it, make as much money as possible. But I don't believe the sales organization is going to exist as it does in a couple years. And what I've been really striving for, obviously, is making sales so I can keep a roof over our heads and make some money, but is mapping out this industry and figuring out how things have been done and how things can improve, and then improving on those things, setting about my own processes, training my own guys, and then essentially helping improve the industry. And that's ultimately why I've gone through so many companies, because if I started working with a company and they weren't paying people well, I just moved to a different company because there's so much money in solar. And then if I was working with a company and their training was unethical, I just cut ties and I'd move to a different company.
Good for you.
And just so on and so forth. And I just tried to figure out how to sell ethically. And I've learned that it's extremely difficult. It keeps me up most nights. It's stressful, but it's worth it.
Well, you said something about when you were talking about your struggles, and I usually ask about your motivation. I think we talked a little bit. I think I know what your motivation is. Can you tell everybody how many kids you have?
I have 7.
7 kids.
Right.
But with the motivation, it's a lot of it's the fact that I have these kids. Like I'd say 90% of it. But the rest of my motivation is that I got my mom, I got my grandparents, my sister. I mean, I have all this family that I have a rare opportunity to be the first to make some real money, aside from my grandpa and my grandma, but that was over decades and decades. That if I can do this, I have the opportunity to change the trajectory of my family for generations and help other people do the same that I bring with me. And that's what really motivates me, because I don't want my kids to have to go work 3 jobs.
Yep.
I'd like them to pick a career path and chase it as long as they feel like it. And if they don't feel like doing it anymore, they can go do something else and be able to chase their passions. Because me, when I was leaving high school, I had the choice of trying to go to college and playing sports, um, and dealing with the drug addictions that I had, or joining the military. And thankfully, I chose the military, but that could have went a completely different route.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I know we talked, we just talked a little. I posted, or I replied on a post, or commented on a post that you made, that David Goggins, about his book and how
hmm
similar your guys' lives were when you were younger, and the struggles you
Yeah,
went through. I had no
David
idea.
Goggins is a pretty incredible human. I mean, that's
Oh, geez.
understating it for sure, but it's
Still.
it's the it's the realization that no matter how hard you get kicked in the teeth by life, that it's up to you to pick yourself back up and to keep going. If you have to make changes, you make changes, but you can't feel sorry for yourself. You can't blame
Mhm.
other people, because everybody else is just living their life too, you
Yep.
know. So
Nobody's coming to
it's
save you.
absolutely nobody's coming to save you. It's between you and if you believe in God, it's between you and God. So,
And thank
but yeah,
God. I
it's the
mean, it's like the American dream is what you've done. I mean, thank God we're in a country that allows us to do this. That
absolutely.
we can find something else to do, and something else that we have a passion for. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure after being overseas, we live in a pretty awesome country to be able to have that opportunity.
We absolutely do. There's there's an endless amount of opportunities for people in the United States, because where I'm at in East Texas, say I talk about how hard it was to find a job all these years and how I had to go and do all this other stuff. And that's not to have anybody kind of feel sorry for my situation, because realistically, my wife and I are adults. We could have sold our house and moved to a different town that had better job opportunities. We just chose to kind of stick it out for the kids so we didn't have to move them again. But that's the same way it is in the entire United States. Um, you can be trapped, but you always have the opportunity to leave, whether it's just with you and the clothes on your back, or whether you work a side job and save up for a bus ticket so you can take luggage with you. You know.
Yeah.
Yep. If you can't change where you're at, change where you're at.
Yep, most definitely. And I know I saw on your website that basically you're really obviously in the southern states the most, or you can service the southern states the most that have the most sun. But
hmm
I see Ohio's coming. That's where we're at. So
And we don't have
Yeah,
any sun in
actually, yeah.
Ever.
There's not a whole lot. It's just like Washington in a
It's
way.
just
Um,
gray.
but you
yeah,
still can help. I mean, I guess, you know, would solar panels still be good for people here in Ohio who don't have
I
as
I
much?
think I think it would be. It just comes down to how many you need and how much that costs in comparison to what you already spent on electricity.
Mm-hmm.
If the expenditure's already there and you have the infrastructure, which there's the infrastructure exists in pretty much every state, to where when the sun hits your roof, you're saving money. The main thing in states like that don't have as many sun hours, the main things that benefit are businesses, commercial outfits,
Oh,
schools, stuff like that, because they consume so much electricity that the return on investment is insane.
yeah.
With a homeowner, you're looking at saving tens of thousands of dollars, between like 30 and 50 on average over the next 25 years. But a school's going to save millions of dollars, and that's
Wow.
taxpayer dollars
Right.
that it saves. And that's stuff that they can either choose to save that taxpayer money, or they can roll that savings into teachers' benefits, extracurriculars, stuff like that.
That's cool. That's definitely cool. Good to know.
So, are you dealing mostly with Texans right now, or I mean, I know that's where you're at. Is that how's it going right now?
Yes, I'm dealing mostly with Texans. It's going pretty good. It could be going better, but that's my own. I didn't move fast enough in business when it came to hiring and getting guys out there and knocking doors and stuff like that. I've been kind of doing it solo, recruiting people behind the scenes that also do business stuff. Um, East Texas, I can thank a company called Lumi. They call themselves Lumio Bros or something like that. They're what I would have wanted to bet a part of, or what I would have wanted to be a part of when I was in like my early 20s. They're a bunch of young 20 somethings that they shipped in here from out of state, like 40 of them, and they just knock doors every day. The people of East
Really?
Texas don't really appreciate them, but I do, because most of my clientele are coming from people that got their door knocked, didn't appreciate it, and they're like, I'm going to go to somebody local. And I'm like, hey, thanks, guys.
Yeah, taught them a little bit about solar, and then they moved on to a
Yeah,
little better
because they've
sales
been seeing me
process.
on Facebook for almost 2 years now, and they know
Yeah.
I'm local. They see me. I sponsor events and stuff when I can. And
And I
so,
wanted to tell you, because I was looking, of course, I was looking more in depth on your personal as well as your business profile. You need to get your face on there more. You need to
I
talk
think so
into
too.
the camera more.
Yeah, I'm sure you saw the Facebook post. I messed my beard up, so I had to shave it. And so I'm working on liking myself a little bit more. I was kind of in a slump last year. My dad passed away, and
Yeah.
Mm.
I kind of I don't know. I don't know if I use it as an excuse to just keep being unhealthy. But all that's kind of said and done. I found healthier outlets, and one of those is swinging a sledgehammer with my tire, and it helps.
Oh,
And so I'm
wow.
getting back
That's
into
a
that, and
CrossFit thing.
as I'm thinning up, I'm starting to like myself a bit more. My appearance. I'm feeling better, and absolutely I want to. I mean, I have a TikTok with 0 videos and like a ton of followers so far because I stay active in the comment sections. And if
Uh-huh.
I could just get that going, I think that would help me a lot too.
Well, that's motivating as someone who's an older guy with a great hairdo and all everything I got going for me. It wasn't easy putting my face out there and talking to people, and the more you
Yeah,
do it, the easier it gets. And we tell people all the time, stick the phone up and start talking to it. Tell people what you do and where you're at and how they get a hold of you, and it happens. It just happens.
absolutely. Yeah,
And you may not think, and I'm sure you deal with this. I know you do because you're a business owner. And when you post things on your personal profile, nobody comments when it comes to business. They only
yeah,
comment on cute family things or cat things, like with me. But people do watch, and we
yes,
know that now that I'm going back out in the public more since my cancer. That I don't know if you knew that I had that, but I had cancer and am recovering from that. We didn't get out a whole lot, but now
yeah,
we do. And that's like the first thing that people say to me is, hey, I follow your story. I see what you post. And it's like, really? I never see
yeah,
you comment, but that's awesome. So people do see you and they do follow you. They may not comment,
absolutely.
but they see
Well,
you
and,
and
and
they'll
I
connect
and
with
I
you.
knew that you were struggling with something. I didn't exactly know it was cancer, but I'm super glad that you beat it. Um,
Thank you.
I know that had to have been really scary.
It was, but just like you, I mean, it's something that everybody's got something, and
Yeah,
it's what
that's
you
true.
do with it. And for us, it was it like came out of the freaking blue.
Yeah,
So it wasn't something that we were expecting because, quite honestly, I'm probably one of the healthiest people in my family and extended family. Um, and it was all of a sudden, but it was something that then caused us to you know, come to a screeching halt as to, okay, what are we doing? And so we shifted gears and we knew that we wanted to help and talk to small businesses and help small businesses online because it was it's a passion. And I wanted to help other people get healthy too. That's another passion of mine too.
Lean in.
Oh,
You keep sliding out.
Well, and I'm glad that you guys do what you do, because aside from the podcast, I mean, everybody that listens to this or watches this or anything, they're not going to know how much kind of advice you guys kind of steered me, here and there over the last year. And I wanted to let you know that I appreciate that, because I do take your advice, and I'm like, all right, I need to make some moves here. And I know you guys know how overwhelming all of this can be, especially when somebody's starting off new in something. But having you guys there is kind of like that. You guys have like experience in other things that are very similar, and kind of, you have a lot of tact when you recommend things to people, and it works out well.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. And that's kind of what started this. Is we're in a pretty small town in Central Ohio, and we've always kind of joked it's 10 years behind the rest of the country, and we can't help everybody.
Yeah.
Here, and some people can't. We do still build websites and do marketing and stuff, and some can afford it, some can't. But we still want to help, because if people don't help save the small businesses, the Amazons and the Walmarts that are already eating the world, as my cat comes
Look
up.
at this. This is Karen.
Mine's over here tearing up a jacket.
She loves being in the camera. Well, as I was saying, I really believe that the small businesses can sustain themselves because they're the ones that help the community.
Yeah,
I feel, the big corporations do for show, but mom and pop are still running the show.
Well, absolutely. And I saw it growing up in Montana that when small businesses are able to thrive, where people work hard enough to keep those small businesses alive, then the cost of living is affordable. When, for instance, when I was a kid, Pomida came to a little town called Libby, Montana, and before then, the closest Walmart was 2 hours away in Sandpoint, Idaho. And if you wanted shoes, you went to Payless Shoes. If you wanted this, you went to a different store and all that, Ace Hardware and everything. But when Pomida came, it just started killing businesses. And with that, people left the town. I'm gonna let her go in a second, but this is Kittyet. She's ferocious. Yeah, Kittyet. She does
good.
some wild things. So.
Well, ours is named Karen, so
that's good.
Karen manages the rest of us.
Quit.
I named her Kittyet because she likes to knock things off of. If a kid comes out in the kitchen and gets a glass of water and then leaves it sitting on the counter or on the table, she'll jump up there, and in the morning there'll be a cup on the floor with a puddle of water.
Sounds a little bit familiar. Definitely.
There, we're back. Camera froze. So, where you at?
Well, how about what's a memorable moment you've had in the business?
There's been a couple. I still think my favorite is when I got hired. A lot's happened since then. I met a lot of friends and everything, helped a lot of people, but my favorite memory was talking with my buddy Joey before he was my buddy Joey. He's the one that came and tried to sell me solar, and he got me a job. And the very next day, I was talking with the sales manager, shout out to Jordan, with TriSmart, who now owns Bright Solar. He got me a job and gave me a job interview when I was on the road. And he's like, yeah, you don't even need to drive all the way here, man. He's like, you can turn around, because it was an hour and a half drive. I was going to drive all the way there for an interview. And I turned around, came back to the house. And then the next day I drove all the way to Dallas and went and sat there and did some sales training with him. And he kind of, opened the doors to the industry for me.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you said you had another one? Any other?
Yeah, it's just kind of I'd say it's just like a summary of everything that I've done is my favorite. It's my favorite memory of this industry encompasses the last 2 years because, like for instance, I'm on this call with you guys. It's 8:25 in the morning here, and I'm here with two of my daughters, that aren't in school
Yeah.
yet, and so I'm able to. Obviously I change diapers and pick up and stuff like that, but I get to play with them. I get to be
Yeah.
present, um, and that's my favorite part of this is that if we want to go do something on a Saturday, we go do something on a Saturday. I don't have somebody telling me, "No, you got to be here." Like, sorry, man, I got to reschedule. Like my kids come first.
You'll
Well,
love that.
coming from
Yeah.
two that have done the same thing for 24 years
24
now,
years.
that's exactly
Yep.
it, man. I was home for my kids. I coached my kids, and it's a big deal.
That's
And
what I'm
you'll
working
love it.
towards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
You'll
love to be
love
able to
it.
coach.
You'll love that, and your kids will your kids will watch, and they'll eventually appreciate it that you are able to do that, because
Yeah.
that's one thing that they've talked about, our three, with us, is that the fact that we were here, and that everybody, they talk about their friends and how their parents weren't there for them at home and stuff like that. They came home to a house by themselves. I know in a lot of situations that's just the way it has to be, but it was nice being able to have
There
this
are
choice.
a lot of entrepreneurs that are driven by that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you're out there, what's one of the biggest myths that people have about your industry? Like when you're talking to, when you finally get to have a consultation with somebody, what's one of the biggest myths?
Yeah, I feel like they're going to say, like, what's the catch?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I think there's going to be three. Okay, so the first one is that solar winds up in landfills when it's reached its end of life. For one, there's panels that are still working that have been installed since the 60s, but with solar, they're not going to throw it in landfills because it's made with rare earth metals. It's all recyclable. I think solar and lithium ion batteries, right as it stands, are recyclable and reclaimable up to 85% of raw materials that they could then use to make new solar panels and new batteries. I think that's the number one biggest myth is pollution. The second biggest myth is cost. Um, the industry kind of helps with that because people don't realize that you can get financed for solar without putting any money down. Um, but where the industry is kind of harmed that is salesmen go out chasing commission checks and they're trying to sell people as high as they can. And that hurts the industry because we have the rare opportunity to be saving people money and to be ambassadors for an entire industry that, I mean, in 20 years, we're going to look back and we're going to be amazed at how far we've come. But if you can get somebody solar and their payments with their electric company, everything works out to where they're saving money every month. That for me, that's just an incredible feeling, but it helps the industry as a whole, and that's possible for sure. The other biggest myth is the 26% tax credit, and as a sales guy, this is probably not the right way to approach it, but there needs to be a lot more transparency in the issue with homeowners. Not solar is not a good fit for every single person yet, but there's a 26% federal investment tax credit. Not everybody's going to get that 26% of their total job cost back, but all of the residential lending options want that 26% back after 18 months because your payments start off really low, and then after 18 months your loan will reamortize if you don't put that back in there. So it's my job to allow the homeowner to see that and explain, hey, even though I'm not a CPA and I can't give you realistic tax advice based on your situation, I can say you need to talk to a CPA because you make X amount of dollars, you only write off X amount of things, and you need to talk to your CPA to ensure that you're going to get this $8,000, $12,000, whatever, back in taxes. If it's not looking like you are, then we have like 40 different loan options with a good majority of them based on how I price this system out. Where if you don't put that tax credit back in 18 months, yeah, your payment goes up a little bit, but I can show you right here how you're still saving a lot of money, and being able to work with each client as their own instead of having everything just be cookie cutter across everything you do, um, be transparent with those guys, because yeah, you might not make that sale because of that thing that you said about the tax credit, but do you want to make that sale and then in 18 months that person gets hosed by that payment going up because now it's no longer in their budget, and now they hate you, and
Mm-hmm.
all of their friends dislike you too, I'd rather
Mm-hmm.
walk away from those deals, or at least give that person an opportunity to make sure it's a good fit for them.
You're a different
Because
kind of salesman, aren't you?
yeah, I think
That's good.
I part of it's because of all the things we've gone through overseas. um,
Yeah.
I've done a lot of interrogations. I've done a lot of talking to assets and stuff overseas, and going on missions, and then on the civilian side, I mean, I did counterintelligence screenings for almost 3 years, working my way from junior level screener all the way up to senior counterintelligence advisor for Special Operations Joint Task Force. There's things you do in any industry, especially in the military, that do not mesh with your morals. Um, I have the opportunity to change that, at least in my situation. I can sell ethically and morally to where I can sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it hurts the bottom line. If if I didn't talk about the tax credit like a lot of other salesmen are trained to not talk about it as much, I'd probably have a higher close ratio, and my close ratios are decent, but I'd probably have a higher one. But that's also why I don't run a lot of ads, because the ad copy that you have to use in this industry to get people to click and then click through it is shady. Um, I'm sure you guys see it with solar. After you talk to me and you get a couple solar ads,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
you'll see where they offer, there's government programs that help you get solar for free, and it's all this other stuff. And it's like,
And that's why I
no,
asked,
man.
what's the catch? Because I do see that, zero
Yeah.
down, free grants, government, all that stuff. And
Yeah.
it seems
The way
too good to be true.
the way solar works, and this is just going to be a really quick rundown. You can get solar with cash, and that's going to be your cheapest, but it's going to be your most out-of-pocket expense. You can get solar financed at zero down, all the way from 0% interest, 1.49, 2.99, all the way up to like 7.5% interest. The higher interest rate you have on a loan is going to be your lowest overall cost, because there are financing charges like with any other loan type.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a 0% interest loan, say it's a cash price of like $40,000, right? And with a 0% interest loan, now your cash price is like $80,000. Same exact everything, 0% loan, 0% down. But if you did as if you did the same 25-year loan option on like a 7.5% interest, right? Your total loan amount would be still like 40 something thousand, which is way cheaper than the 0% across the board. But your payments are like, in this instance, in my head, it's about $80 higher per month, and some people can't swing that. So it really comes down to sitting down with the individual and figuring out what their situation is, because the homeowner, they're not set up to lose. If I go to a homeowner or do a Zoom call with a homeowner, I build them everything out for free. I sit down with them, give them all the time that they need, and if they don't want to go solar, they don't go solar. And that's completely cool with me. But at least they learned. So when somebody else in the industry comes along, if that happens, they're educated already. They know what to look out for, and they can go with them or they can go with me. It doesn't. I don't care who they go with. Just that they don't wind up being another one of these people that gets put in a bad situation because they were oversold. You know.
Yep.
Well, you
We
just
totally
created your
know.
next 10 videos in my mind of teaching people
Yeah.
exactly what you just taught us.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get the correct information from
Yep.
an obviously upstanding guy, and they're going to start to doubt the stuff that the more shady guys are telling them. So that's, get on there and teach.
Definitely. That's definitely what I need to do.
Yep.
I don't. We see it across the board in every industry that the path of least resistance is the path that marketers choose, and people don't realize that marketing is propaganda, and it's
No, absolutely.
psychological operations. Some marketing is more ethical than others, but at the end of the day, it's what psychological tricks can you play on words and imagery to get your demographic to click, and then click again and fill their information out and keep clicking.
Seems like
And
that
that's
every screen we look at is like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're with, for lack of a better term, we're kind of modern day human cattle in the sense that our economy is driven by how much we purchase.
Right.
Yeah.
Most
So that's a whole
definitely.
different podcast.
Oh yeah, that I see a rabbit hole over there. We could go
Oh,
down. We're
yeah.
going to stay away from that.
Yep.
So,
We're kind of along the same lines, but we'll still stay away from that.
what's the question that we didn't ask that you wish we would have? Did we miss anything?
No, I don't really think you guys missed anything. But if there are people listening that want to get into solar, um, they can reach out to me. They don't have to work for me. I can help them find a place in the industry, whether they want to work as a laborer, helping put stuff on roofs, or they want to work knocking doors and setting appointments for people, or marketing, or actually selling systems. There's a place in the industry. There's a massive boom going on right now. It's essentially a gold rush that a lot of people are ignoring. But yeah, if anybody wants to get into this industry, no matter what state they're in, I can help them. I can
Awesome.
find them a place with a different company if need be.
That's great. Okay, what's another? Well, that was my question. What advice
you nailed it.
would you give? So
we're calling the podcast Local Vibes.
Okay.
So we want to start asking people, what's the vibe like where you're local? What's your town? What's the vibe of your town?
Yeah.
Because we always say your vibe attracts your tribe, and there are a lot of towns that aren't trying real hard. So does your town have a good vibe or not?
Yeah, my town is Lindale, Texas. Right outside of Tyler, and Tyler, Texas is the rose capital of the United States.
I
We're
did
about
not
an
know
hour
that.
and a half east of Dallas, and our economy is blown up. The housing market's insane. But the town has been doing a good job of expanding. They added a new park not too long ago. Sorry, I get hiccups. They added a new park not too long ago, and the population here in like 5 years it's going to look completely different. So I think I'm in a good town. It's going to expand rapidly. There's a lot more jobs that are going to be coming to the area, and a fresh batch of people from outside of the state, whether it's California, New York. It's shaking things up a little bit because Tyler, Texas, and this area of Texas has always kind of been old oil field money, you know.
Mm,
Um, and I don't mean that so much negatively, because traditionally the people that have made their millions off of the oil and gas industry out here, they put that money back into the community,
nice.
and they've kind of helped, which has been cool. But we're seeing a shift as the oil field kind of dips, um, to where that money is not so prevalent around here, and people are having to make changes. Industries having to be added out here, and it's going to be cool to see how that changes. But I guess the overall vibe in East Texas is just, um, pride of origins. I guess I would say people around here
Mm-hmm.
are really proud of where they're from, and I can relate. East Texas is a cool place. I'm a little biased because I'm used to the mountains and stuff from where I grew up,
Mhm.
but it's a beautiful area out here, and the people around here really do care about their community, and I think that's why I'm thankful for being able to run my business here.
Awesome.
That is
It's
great.
good to hear.
Yes. So should we do the
Sure.
card? One thing I've been doing with everybody, just because it's just a way to end it on something fun, is I have this deck of cards. It has different questions on it and stuff, and
cool.
I'm
Put you on the spot a little bit.
put you on the spot, but it could be fun. So we'll see.
Better read it first.
I know.
Oh,
That's a good one for
probably
you.
a lot.
How many different places have you lived?
All right, so
This could be a while.
are we talking just different states or just different towns?
Sure.
For you, it could be. I mean,
Countries.
yeah, your countries and
So
states. I don't know. You decide what you want to tell us.
so 4 states. Born and raised in Montana, but at one point I moved to Arizona as a kid, and then moved to upstate New York, and then back to Montana, and then joined the army. Got stationed. So I lived in, of course, Missouri but that was just for basic training, and then I spent about 22 weeks and 2 days or more in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, 30 minutes south of Tucson. Got stationed at Fort Hood, Texas. Spent a little bit of time here. Went to Iraq, came back. Afghanistan, came back. Along the way, stopping in Ireland and Kuwait and stuff like that. And then here in Texas, I've lived in Killeen, Fort Hood area, and then Tyler, Texas, moved to Lindale. And then from there, I've I've gone to, of course, Afghanistan again, Kuwait, Dubai, Qatar, and then worked and lived in Alabama while I was there, and then Colorado. Yeah,
Jeez.
You win.
it jumps around a
Yes,
lot.
you definitely
You
win. What's your favorite place overseas? Rose again.
Believe it or not, my favorite place is Afghanistan. Um,
Really?
yeah. So aside from combat, the the Afghani people that I interacted with, the majority of Afghani people that I interacted with, the farmers, just the normal guys, um, they remind me the most of what we're taught as kids that Americans are. Um, that they work hard to provide for their family first. They work hard to provide for their region or their community, their town, whatever. And it's but they're hospitable. I've
Really?
I've never in my life would have thought that. Well, I'll put it this way: Afghanistan, you go out, it's freezing cold outside. You walk 6, 7 miles out to get to the village that you're gonna go search, or even if you're just walking, waiting to get shot at so you can shoot back. Oh, hold on, baby. Come here and sit down, but you got to be quiet. We're almost done with this, okay? Say hi.
Hi.
Those people, though, I interacted a lot with village elders and villagers and stuff like that, and they will bring you, it'll be negative 10 degrees outside. They'll come outside and they'll bring you hot tea. They'll bring you naan, like hot naan and everything, which is a flatbread. They invite you into their home and they'll feed you and make sure that you're stuffed before you leave again. And
Wow.
it's whether it's fake or not, like fake hospitality or whatever. It's the fact that they care enough, even though you're from a different country and you're occupying their country, that they want to still, on a human level, take care of you. And
Wow.
and I love that. I'm glad we got my buddy Ali here from Afghanistan with his son. He lives in Michigan now, I think, and it's super cool to see because the people of Afghanistan, even the people in Iraq as well, that the Muslim religion teaches them to be super nice and caring to people, on a base level, and they really do take that to heart. It's like small town America. You go to Troy, Montana, where I grew up. If your car breaks down in the middle of that town, somebody's going to come help you. You might not even have to take it to a shop. You know, it's just the way it is in a lot of places in the world, and I think that we forget that because we spend so much time absorbing the negative things on social media. But yeah, Afghanistan is
Local
definitely
vibes,
my
baby. That's what
favorite
we're
people.
talking about. Those local
Yeah.
vibes, because that is what people, when you get to politics, it's two sides, and they only focus on the worst of either side, no matter what. So I think it's really cool to to know that there are others like that, other places that we're not taught that that's the way they are over there.
No, we don't see that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People don't. You never see that kind of or get that kind of information from people. So I think this was a perfect question for you, and hopefully people listen to this, and I mean that's huge
Yep, very
about
cool.
the people. That's fantastic.
I think
So
across the board in the military, at least the people that interacted with them on a regular basis. Now I got infantry friends that don't agree with me, but they see things from a different side of things than I do. But yeah, realistically, it's all people as a whole. It's learning the fact that nobody's out to get you. Really, everybody's kind of just out for themselves.
right.
But there's people everywhere you go that will put you first, even though realistically they don't know who you are and anything like that. But they'll put you first because they believe that God wants them to do that, and that's the coolest thing.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
I love it.
Anything left?
No, I think we've covered it. As how, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, why don't you tell us exactly how they can do that, and we'll make sure that we put this in the episode notes and stuff. But tell people how they can get in touch.
Definitely. I think the easiest way is going to be just finding me on Facebook, whether it's my personal page, which is Michael Hirst, spelled just the way it is on my shirt. Wrong side, but yeah.
No, we see it fine.
We see it.
Yeah, I pointed at it because on my screen it's on the right side, but yeah. But on my Facebook, either Hirst Solar Consulting is my business page. You can always shoot me a message. But realistically, if somebody wants to get in contact with me, I always have my cell phone on me, and my number is 903-787-3453. I can't promise that I'll answer the phone because I'm pretty busy, but I will get your text message and I'll call you back.
Very cool. Very
Awesome.
cool. So that was way more than I expected to get from a solar panel.
Great.
That was awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you again for your service. I know you hear it all the time, but people really do mean it. Thank you.
Well, I really do appreciate your guys' support, both as a veteran and as a business owner. And I really do appreciate the opportunity because this is my first podcast that I've been on, and this is a really cool experience.
Well, then in that case, is there anything that you want to ask us? You got us right here. Is there anything that you want to ask?
Looking back, raising your family, what's one change you would have made to business in order to best serve your kids?
Wow. I know mine right off the top. I'll go first and let you go.
It's probably the exact same thing.
We talk about all the time that the best thing about working at home is being home all the time. The worst thing about working at home is being home all the time. We haven't clocked out in 24 years.
Yeah.
And we were pretty good. I'm pretty proud of the way we stuck around, raised our family. I wish we were, even though we were there, we weren't always present because we were working.
Yep.
We were in home instead of in an office. But that's the thing that when I look back, sometimes I think, we were there, but we were, and now it's even worse with your phone. This was before a phone, but
Yep.
when they're around, just like you're doing, I understand, it's, be present, and, because as our youngest is 19, and I know you hear it all the time, man, it goes like
fast. It goes so fast.
Does. Yeah, it goes by way too fast.
What do you got?
That was exactly what I was going to say is I wish we would have been better at having a schedule where we scheduled in more family stuff. I mean, when the kids, and you'll go through this, especially with kids, their schedules become, what dominates your life. And we were in hockey and lacrosse and volleyball, and that just consumed our life. And then Pat did a lot of coaching, and with lacrosse, we started our lacrosse program in our school system. So we were busy with that a lot too. And I really wish that we would have scheduled more family times, family
Even though we were
specific
together
things.
all the time, but
that was probably one thing. The one good thing about COVID, with COVID happening, is it forced us to do more family time here. And, we made a particular day where we definitely have all the kids for dinner, and we dedicated that time to that. And so we still do that. So I think that's great. But that would be my biggest advice to give you is definitely even putting it in your appointment, in your calendar.
It's in my schedule. Yeah. I've worked that in. My kids get on the bus at 6:30 every morning. So I wake up, get them up for school, 5:45, and they get on the bus at 6:30. I'm not a super morning person, For instance, I napped from like 6:30 to 7:30 this morning before this, because I stay up till like 1, 2 in the morning, and but it's because the kids get off the bus at 4, so from about 3:30 to like 8 o'clock at night, I can't really do much, If I'm on the phone, something's getting destroyed in the house.
Yep.
Because the kids are, so, but I spend time with them. I need to be a lot more present. I do recognize that for sure. But at least I eat dinner with them,
That's good.
and all of that. And I know that was important to me as a kid because I didn't have that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But Fridays, so every other weekend, my oldest son's my stepson. So every other weekend, I'll load all the kids up in the car except for the baby, and drive from here to Hubbard, Texas, which is about 2 hours. Um, Drop him off with his dad because he drives him from there to Austin, Texas, and then I drive all the way back with the kids. And then Sunday, I go and I do it again. So
Wow.
pretty much dead in the water Friday or every other Friday from like 5 or 4 o'clock in the evening to she's over here eating gummy bears because she knows I won't do anything right
Oh. She's ready to go crazy now.
now.
Sugar up.
But the best thing I think I've done for myself, and my wife inadvertently actually did this for me, is that she has Bible study every Wednesday. It fluctuates from like 9 in the morning to 11 in the morning or 10 in the morning and noon, but it's at the same place every Wednesday. And so I go, and now I have kind of a group of guys that we go and we network, but we play disc golf together from 10 in the morning to noon, and it's pretty great. If nobody shows up, sometimes I just bring my fishing pole and I go fishing the fishing pond at the church or just go hiking. But it's for me, that's my whole weekend is that 2 hours, and so I
Nice.
get to just go out in the woods. If I don't want to talk to anybody, I can just literally go sit on a log somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the woods and just decompress for a couple hours. And it's
Unplug.
That's
yeah, and
good.
if business owners don't have something like that, they need it. Whether it's solitude to play a video game, or like read a book, whatever it is, they got to have some time for themselves, because if not, everything around you drains a lot of your emotional energy. And if you don't have a pool of emotional energy available to your kids, then that's when 5 years will fly by like that, and that distance grows between you and your kids. They don't feel like you can come to you with stuff, because every time they do, you're busy with work.
Yep.
And I I have been like that. But I'm
Yeah, and
making mindful changes is all I can really do.
and exactly,
That's
I'm
good.
mindful of it, and I still find myself staring at that stupid phone for no reason.
Yeah,
And then
But so do the kids.
oh well,
So you're
yeah,
they're
equal.
watching me.
absolutely. That's
So
that's my biggest goal with this business. Aside from money or anything like that, I can't eat any of those, baby. But thank you. You can sit right there and eat them. Aside from money and all these other things that you can accomplish in business, my biggest goal is like freedom from electronics. I want to retire in a cabin up in the Bull River Valley in Montana and not have internet and not have a TV, just have a couple bookshelves full of really good books and spend the rest of my life fishing and hunting and hiking. Like, and that's what I
there's
want to do.
nothing
I
wrong
can
with
go
that.
on vacation to look at a screen if I want to, but I
Yeah.
don't want one in my house when I'm retired.
What do they say? 20 years ago, getting on the internet was the escape. Now getting off of it is the escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's crazy to think about what happens with Web3. That's all I
Yeah.
can say. And everybody's
Mm-hmm.
living, because with Web3, we'd be doing this virtually. I'd be sitting across
Yep.
a virtual table from you guys. And
It's
and
not that
then,
far
but think of
off.
how addicting that's going to be. So it's
Oh,
gonna be
big
it's gonna
time.
be hard. Yeah,
I think us old people will be okay, but man, the kids, the kids 10 years younger than you that
yeah.
are
Well,
they're gonna
it's
walk around with that thing on their head their whole life.
yeah, it's a dopamine addiction that's
Absolutely.
gonna feel natural, because that's just. I mean, I'm guilty of it. My kids are
Yeah.
being loud and obnoxious, and I'm trying to get work done.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go watch Cocomelon. Like. But then I think about it a lot of times, like, man, I had 3 channels when I was a kid. I watched
Yes.
PBS.
I had to get
Like,
up to turn the channel.
And
yeah,
cartoons were only, well, I mean, this dates me big time, but cartoons were only on Saturday mornings. And if
yeah.
you slept in,
You
you're
missed them.
screwed. You missed all of it.
Oh, absolutely. And if your parents got annoyed with you, you just got kicked out of the house and
Yeah.
told to go
Yeah.
play.
I got kicked out every day. Go
Hope
outside
Yeah.
and
hope you don't
play.
get eaten by a bear. Go play in the woods. Like,
Well, thank God we don't have that to worry
yeah,
about here.
Well, it
Uh,
looks like you got your hands full. Again, thank you so very much for jumping on,
yes.
and you know where to
thank you
find
for
us
the
if you ever have
opportunity.
more questions. And
Yeah.
we love talking to especially the family men. That's where our heart lies.
Yep.
Well, I really enjoyed this.
Anytime, and like I said, reach out whatever you need. We're here for you, man.
Yeah. Got any questions? just let me know.
Good luck with those
Thank you.
panels.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's just going to get better and better, I think. So,
Yep. Get that phone out and that camera and start putting more out there.
Yep.
yeah, I'll definitely do that.
All right. Well, tell everybody in your family hello, and
Thank
that's
you.
it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Have a great day, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, you as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Local Vibes Podcast. Brought to you by Ultimate Online Marketing, where we help small business owners like you build the ultimate system that generates more leads, phone calls, and most importantly, more customers. Join our group by going to ultimateonlinemarketing.com/group. There, you'll find live discussions, tips, podcasts, videos, and just plain real talk on how you too can be an ultimate online business. See you next time.
Bye-bye.